Hey everyone, so Steve is here with me now. So we're going to do part 2 of the story of when I got heat stroke at Epcot. If you missed the first part, I don't think we're gonna waste any time recapping.
No,
I'm gonna put these 2 videos together in a playlist, so if you wanted to see it, and you'll be able to check out the first part up in this corner here, plus I'll link it down below in the description box. So we left off, we were at the food booth. It was during the Flower and Garden Festival. We were at the food booth in the Italy Pavilion, and that's when things started really going downhill. I felt really bad for you because he kept asking, you knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
But I couldn't describe what was going on. And so obviously I didn't even think heat stroke, I really didn't. And so I just knew that I felt weird.
Yeah, so basically I have this person fumbling in front of me and after you just ordered food and we already ate food before then, I know he was drinking water, I know he was eating eventually. So I thought, it didn't really come to mind that heat stroke was a situation.
Right.
But then the fact that he couldn't really verbalize what the problem was, and then all of a sudden you kind of just shut off, verbally, and your expressions just dropped. So I'm like, okay, something's going on. So as you guys know from the last moment of the last vlog, I kind of took over. He sat down on the curb, rest up. I gave him some water, made sure he sat down and drank as much water as he possibly could. While I took Caleb and we kind of played around the Italy Pavilion, grabbed some awesome pictures, which I'm sure Mike will drop right here as well. But we basically gave Mike a moment just to see if that was going to help him recover.
And so there's 2 things so I'm kind of glad we waited a while to talk about this, because there were 2 things that I was kind of embarrassed to talk about and admit. But so many of you reached out to me on Instagram and shared your stories and what happened. And you guys had almost the exact same situation I did. And the first thing that I was very embarrassed about was the fact that I got very irritated. And I wouldn't find out until weeks later after we got home, and I was kind of looking up heat stroke and what it was and what are the symptoms. One of the main symptoms of heat stroke is irritability.
Yeah, you were irritable, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it was but it wasn't out. Steve jokes, but it was mostly in my head, and I have 2 things that I remember explicitly that happened. One, again, we're in the Italy Pavilion, but we were on where that gate is in front of the water, and far, far away, in the main part of the Italy Pavilion, where that town square is, I could see some people, and in my head, I was like, why are those people there? What are they doing there? It was so ridiculous, right? And then another one was when a cast member came by to change out the garbage can, and I literally looked at him. I was just like, do we have to be doing this right now? It just made 0 sense. There's no reason why I should get upset, and that's why I didn't want to mention it. But
the other thing, you did come across as irritable when I kept on asking what was wrong, because I think, again, verbally you had no ability to communicate it. So after a while, you're just I don't know, I just can't tell you. So after a bit, we obviously knew something was going very, very wrong. When
Steve was finishing up that food review in the Italy Pavilion, so if you saw the video, earlier in that trip, we had gotten Caleb that Star Wars fan, that misting fan, and he broke it 2 days later. And so I remember I was sitting there, irritable, and I saw that broken fan, and I was just like, oh, this is so frustrating. And Caleb was like, I want to throw it away. And I'm like, well, let's not throw it away quite yet. Let's just wait, dude, right? And at one point, he wanted to throw it into the water of Epcot, the middle lake. And I was so furious in my head. I'm like, no, we don't throw things. And that's when I was like, okay, we gotta go.
Yeah. So we made a decision at that point. So we were waiting for our hotel to be ready. So it wasn't like we could have just left really quickly and go to a nice quiet room and relax. So we made the decision, let's leave, because you still were able to walk. You were still mostly with it at that point. So we decided, let's walk to the car. It was around 2:30 at that time. Our room's gonna be ready pretty soon, and if it's not, and we're still having a problem, we may just go straight to urgent care or the ER. Well, we opted not to use the Disney services, which I'm not sure why we didn't.
That's one of the things I want to talk about, actually. So we, just to recap, in the previous video, we let you know we had valet parked our car at the Boardwalk Resort. So we had to walk throughout the rest of World Showcase to International Gateway, through the Boardwalk and the hotel to get our car. And again, my brain just wasn't working. Hindsight is 2020. Now I would have been like, let's just go straight to first aid or find someone who can help us. But I just wasn't even thinking like that. And then of course you just didn't know what was going on because I couldn't tell you. But at one point we're walking and I thought to myself, I was like, I should just fall down right now. I should just drop to the ground because the security and the team to help will come right out. But I was like, I don't want to ruin this vacation. I don't want to scare Caleb. I don't want to be dramatic and so forth. But it was at this point when we're walking, also I noticed that my brain, it just started going like a million miles a minute. And everything I looked at was a thought in my head that like my mouth couldn't catch up. I couldn't articulate it. So it was like my brain was going a million miles a minute, but like my motor functions wouldn't execute.
And from what I could see, it just seemed like you weren't able to focus on anything.
Right.
So your eyes were kind of erratic, moving around everywhere. So that obviously wasn't normal. So again, at this point, we made the decision to leave. So how do we hustle? Because you weren't able to move that fast either, right?
Right. I was trying to take it slow, take it easy. And I was just like non sequituring everything. Like we walked by like some flower. I was like, that flower is yellow. Like it was so weird. Because, and then here's the second point I wanted to talk about. I was too embarrassed initially to mention this, but a couple of you literally said exactly what I was thinking. It was like having an out-of-body experience because it was like I had a split personality in me. One person was just being weird and just odd, but then another part of me was normal and I could recognize. I was like, what am I doing? What is going on? It was bizarre.
Yeah. And all this I think is a couple different things. Yes, it was hot. Yes, it's a different temperature that we're not used to. It took you a while before you ate and you didn't have much water in the beginning. So these were kind of things that kind of a waterfall effect to get us where we were today. Yep. So first thing I did was make sure I pushed fluids on you as fast as I possibly could. So at this point we finally got to our car.
Yeah.
So we're in the car. I get him another bottle of water. I actually looked in the gift shop there to see if they have anything else for us to be able to get like Gatorade or anything like that. They didn't have anything. So we got in the car. By the grace of someone, we got the text to say that our room was ready right then. So we head straight to our hotel, which is the Coronado Springs, the
Grand Destino
Tower. So we check in and, praise the service that you don't even have to talk to a front desk person. Everything was ready on the mobile. So we cut through everything and just went straight up to our room. At this point, you basically needed a moment. You went to the master bedroom and just kind of laid down. And I'm like, okay, well, Caleb, how about we go walk the resort? So Caleb and I left and we went shopping, grabbed a little bit of bite to eat. And then by the time we came back, you had said you started feeling a little bit better at that point.
Right.
Having said that, the reason why I had Caleb leave the room was you were kind of all over the place, and he was very concerned as to what's going on with you.
Yeah.
So, me asking him what's wrong, and then Caleb asking you what's wrong. It's obviously
again my irritability. I was just like,
So Caleb and I come back after just touring the resort and kind of hanging out for a bit, and you had said right when we walked in that you felt a little bit better, and then 2 minutes later. You went right back into where you were, right?
It came back again. I do remember at one point, though, I got on the ground and I was kind of in child's pose, and Caleb came by. Caleb was very concerned about me.
But Caleb is obviously very concerned at this point because, again, you're not announcing yourself that you're doing yoga. You're just laying down and not responding.
And so at that point, something very bizarre happened. All of a sudden, I just started sobbing, crazy sobs. I don't think I've cried like that.
Complete breakdown. I think your body was just trying to express something, and I don't know what it was, but...
We decided Caleb needed a nap.
Yeah.
And so, let's lay down. So I was like, I'll lay down with him. I need to lay down. And so Caleb never settled. He was kind of all over the place. And it was... this part was very scary to me. For whatever reason, all of a sudden, I started getting thoughts just flooding my brain about don't go to sleep, don't go to sleep. If I go to sleep, I'm not gonna wake up. And it was really, really scary. And it was at that point that I went and got you and I said, we need to go to the doctor or something.
Yeah, so that was the next step. So the next step was trying to figure out what kind of care can we get from Mike. So there is a service at the hotel where you can basically check for medical emergency situations. Basically what it does is just refers you to the local urgent cares and or hospitals. So we found the closest urgent care to the hotel. We drove there immediately. It was the back of a strip mall. It was kind of hard to find as well. So that's frustrating on top of that. But we ended up going to the urgent care. We told him what the symptoms were, and again, at this point, I was just simply saying that what you were telling me is he's confused, he's not able to focus, you had that emotional breakdown moment. And then you actually, as we were talking about that, you had another breakdown at that.
I started sobbing again.
So at this point, they basically said, we can't take care of you here, you have to go to a hospital. So they referred us to the closest ER, which was in Celebration, and we immediately drove there. So this is where it gets a little bit crazy on top of this. So while how you were feeling is very, very odd. How we had to deal with the situation was even the next level at this point. So we end up getting to the ER, and the first thing they say is Caleb cannot come in. So it still is probably during COVID times that you can't have that many people waiting for you in the waiting room. And frankly, again, I didn't really want Caleb to be exposed to that, but we didn't have no other options. We're on vacation. We didn't have family with us to watch Caleb. So I at least talked him into saying I have to fill out the forms for Mike because he's not able to actually verbally do anything, write anything at all whatsoever. So they allowed us all three to stay for a bit while I filled all the forms, made sure that you were taken back by a nurse, that they were getting your vitals done. Again, he really didn't want me to leave at all, right? So he was scared, right? So he didn't know what was happening to him, and I was kind of the only mouthpiece for you to be able to verbalize that to anybody else.
Right.
So we made sure that you got your vitals done, the nurse took care of you, and I got you into the waiting room, and I told everybody that was handling you, he really can't verbally talk about what's going on. It'd be great if you guys kept an eye on him, and I'll see if I can figure out some sort of care situation for Caleb. So at that point, I was looking for who was going to be able to watch Caleb for this very quick, urgent situation. And Josh and Taylor, our good friends, were the first people to reach out to, and it stopped right there. They were able to, come meet us, pick up Caleb, and take him back to their place for the evening. That took about 45 minutes for them to be able to come up, which they dropped everything immediately. Amazing people. Thank you very much. But after that, they picked him up, and then I immediately headed right back to the ER. The stories of what Caleb and Josh and Taylor were doing was just absolutely hilarious. So we think you all know that he's absolutely obsessed with Roombas.
Yeah, the Roomba, the vacuum machine.
Yes. It's one of his best friends here, I guess. Yes. So of course Josh and Taylor had one, and he's inspecting it, found out that one of the brushes wasn't working, so he immediately told him where to get it, how to fix it, had him watch YouTube videos.
Yeah, they watched fire alarm videos on YouTube.
So they got a full
the full Caleb experience.
Full experience with Caleb, which is awesome. And again, very thankful for you, Josh and Taylor, for being able to jump in and help us so quickly. Yeah. But the funny thing is, the next time we saw them on a separate trip, Caleb immediately said, "Is your Roomba fixed?"
He did. He really did do that.
So lasting friendships, obviously, with him and Josh and Taylor. But anyhow, I ended up picking up Caleb after his great evening, and we end up driving back. And by that time, it's around 9:30 that I end up getting back to the hotel. The game plan was to make sure that he already ate with Josh and Taylor, so that was good. But to get him back, see if we can get him down for bed, because this is pretty late for him at this point, and keep on getting updates from Mike. The idea was that if he was able to get discharged, I just told you use an Uber or Lyft, because I can't leave Caleb here in the hotel, right?
So as it goes, I'm sure we all know this, but in the hospital, obviously there is a priority of depending on your situation.
The severity of the situation.
Yeah.
It's a priority.
Apparently I was a little bit lower, which was fine. And the funny thing was, though, I don't know if that's the funny thing, but I kind of just started feeling a little bit better just sitting there in the waiting room, relaxing, resting, drinking my water.
And that's honestly why I felt okay leaving at 8:30, because I started asking him, are you good? There was also a moment at that point where we were thinking, do we just leave? Because you were feeling good enough that you were like, okay, I think I'm over the hop or whatever it was.
After a few hours, I definitely felt just a million times better.
We kept on pushing fluids on him and making sure he did all that, so that definitely helped. But you would think they would at least rush an IV into the waiting room for you and be able to give you that, but that didn't happen. But anyhow, I left him at 8:30 because he started feeling better.
So eventually, though, I do get called back, and they do put me in a room, and I speak with a doctor. They give me the IV, all that kind of stuff, and I was able to finally talk and articulate and explain what was going on. And the doctor said, yeah, you had suffered heat stroke for sure. It was kind of embarrassing too, because she's like, have you ever been here before? I'm like, yeah, I come here all the time.
I live in Arizona. You would think, right?
She was like, well, it's definitely a different type of heat.
Yeah,
so
it really is, because again, it was 93, I think, that day, and
I mentioned it in the video.
Yeah, and Here in Arizona, it's 111 outside. So it's a different heat, and our bodies are not equipped to handle it that way. So you just got to keep an eye on this kind of stuff. And again, Mike cracked me up in the last video where he said he was harping on the family to keep on drinking water. And again, you forget to take care of yourself.
Yeah,
so
I didn't do it.
But anyhow, so the good thing is they were able to say it's heat stroke. You were able to get dressed pretty quickly. You got the IV, and then I got a call immediately after I placed my order at Three Bridges, the mobile to go order, where Caleb and I walked back really quickly, grabbed the food, I put him to bed, and then I got the call from you saying that you're ready. So Caleb hadn't quite fallen asleep yet, so I woke him up. I'm like, hey buddy, daddy's ready. And actually Caleb was very excited to go get you. So we immediately get back in the car. This is probably the 6th time the valet people saw us. They're like, what is going on with these people? But anyhow, we picked him up. It was a short drive, 10 minutes later. You looked great when you got in the car. It looked like your color was back in your face.
A lot better, yes.
You definitely were a little bit back to your normal self. Definitely you were tired and a little bit,
Right.
I think you were also very embarrassed.
I was.
Yeah. So, but that's fine. I mean, listen, we're a family. We deal with these things together. So, but Caleb was very happy to see that you're back and feeling good. So at this point, we had to get food in you because they obviously the other crazy thing about this hospital is there was no vending machines for food. There was no quick way to get anything for you at all whatsoever. So I had to bring in things from Publix to be able to make sure you had something. So what do we order, Mike? Steak frites?
Steak frites.
Steak frites.
Because Three Bridges, God love them, they're open for carry out or to go, whatever.
Until midnight.
So it was perfect.
And I think this was like around 11-ish at this point that you were eating. Yeah. So, but all things considered, all things said, I'm happy that we had a car to be able to take care of these things. So one tip for you guys, in case you ever come across a situation as a family, have a car if you can for any kind of vacation, because you never know when you need to leave quickly and be able to handle these kind of problems. Make sure again that you are well hydrated and taking care of yourself and your family. And again, it's not that bad of an idea to figure out if you're going to be in out of town for a week or so. Figure out like local service, babysitting services, friends and family to be able to help you out in case something happens. But
and also, if you start feeling a little funny, just go to the first. If you're in a theme park, just go to the first aid. Just better safe than sorry.
I do feel like it took you a while to start saying that you weren't feeling well. So you were well past that time. So. Again, be honest with yourself. Talk to your couple. Talk to your family. Make sure again you're kind of managing through this. But I think that's pretty much it for this part of the story. Again, I think you ended the day being embarrassed because you felt like we wasted a whole Disney day.
I did.
However, we ended up staying an extra couple days because of the weather situation in Orlando. So we were able to make up the time, and it was no waste of time at all whatsoever. So. I'm happy you're feeling better. And I hear that, again, you are going to be more susceptible to it in the future.
That's what I hear, too. Some of you reached out and said, be careful, because going forward, more susceptible.
So we're going to have to schedule those water breaks. Make sure you eat early and not wait until 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock to be able to get your food in you as well. So we learned a lot from this.
Definitely.
And even though that we're Arizonans and we knew how to deal with heat stroke here and know the signs of it here, it is different, we feel, than over there. It's just because it's a different reaction. So, but with that, I hope that really kind of gives you an idea of the experience we had that day and what to kind of prepare for, and
gave you some tips, warning signs to watch out for, I guess.
Exactly. And we're no medical professionals. We're not giving you sage advice that you should go to your doctors with. We're just talking about our experience and how we went through that.
Well, I hope you liked this video. I hope this answered some questions and maybe gave you some things to look out for when you're out in Disney, because it can get hot out there and it can sneak up on you, like we said. If you did like this video, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And from our Magic Family to yours, enjoy.